And Jumpstart Your Life came about, the book, was when I taught it as a class. I walked people through how to jumpstart their lives, how to look at their current situation, how to determine the 2 areas that they wanted to improve in, and then take those 2 areas and set affirmations, really dig deep into what it is they would like to manifest with those 2 areas, and also write affirmations so that they can be reminded of what it is that they want. And how to celebrate the wins and how to write a plan. And everything had to be realistic. At least one thing had to be realistic. And at the end of the course, which ended up being the book, you have 2 realistic ideas for what you want to do moving forward. And you have at least 2 action steps. So that's what the book is all about. It was a course I taught for many years. And then I said, okay, so what am I going to do with this course? I said, I'm going to turn it into a book and use it as a guide to support people as they walk through clearing any barriers that they may have, and walk through and create lives that they truly, truly want to live. That's what my work is really about. How do you live an authentic life? What does that mean? What does that look like? And how can I support you with that?
Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Daily Soul Bar Show. I am your host, Bola Abimbola. This is a show where we interview guest authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs in the fields of spirituality, psychology, and leadership to share their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very special guest, Diane Randall, all the way from Chicago. Welcome to the show, Diane.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
So am I. It's really wonderful to have. So I'm just going to read out your bio and then we can get started.
Okay.
Diane is an author of Jumpstart Your Life and A Whole Life Nourished, a whole living consultant, college instructor, professional speaker, and the host of the Plant-Based Curious podcast. Her articles are featured in prestigious publications like the New York Times, Consulting Magazines, and the American Holistic Health Association. Diane has also made television appearances, including on the Oprah Winfrey Show, discussing successful relationships. Diane finds joy in helping people adopt health and wellness methods to reduce stress and bring harmonious balance to their lives. That is so powerful. Thank you for joining me again, Diane. I would love to know, Diane, how you got to this place where you were really embracing that plant-based lifestyle and supporting those who connect with you to change that body consciousness in order for us to experience that wholeness within that body consciousness, and also the mind space. You combine both the body consciousness and the mind space. I'd love to know how you got to this place, because usually we get to this place when we have been through another space. So I'd love to hear a bit about your story.
Well, I will tell you, it's been a lifetime evolution, whether I knew it or not. What I will say is it all started, since I've been doing this work, I recognize that I started my journey when my sister was murdered. I was 19 years old, went into darkness, went into sadness, went into depression, didn't fully understand it. But what I will say, my journey out started this path that I'm on now. And it started with reading books. You know, I started when there was no internet, when I didn't really know what spirituality technically was. But what I did was I started reading books. I started listening to different spiritual teachers. I'd go and to lectures, and one thing just led to another. So I opened myself up wholly to to whatever I was supposed to do, because the one thing I wanted was to be happy, and I just didn't know how to start that path. How do I get out of this darkness and be happy? Because I felt that I didn't know what that was, and I didn't feel at the time that I had a lot of representatives of happiness, So what I love about that journey is I opened my mind up to just try everything, from even try different churches. And I recognized that my path, I experimented with different churches, different types of churches. But what I recognized was my spiritual journey was going to be something other than, a church. So I started with spiritual teachers, going to lectures. There's this temple I used to love to go to in Chicago called Bodhi Temple. And that's where I met a lot and interacted with a lot of different spiritual teachers from all over the world. So that kind of thing resonated with me. And as I navigated through my grief and all the things that I was feeling inside, what I figured out was when I opened my mind and I chose to be authentic about what I was really feeling, then that helped me to become lighter in my body, lighter in my mind, and really lighter and connecting with my spirit. So that made me hungry to keep going, because I wanted to feel more. I wanted to feel more of this all around whole happiness. The plant-based journey came later because initially I wasn't even thinking about that, but I did know that I needed to make some changes because I wanted to feel better, not just on the inside, but on the outside too. So what that led me to do was to really study and dig deep into what does it mean for me to feel happy and whole. And I didn't start out knowing what wholeness meant, did not. But as I uncovered, I went to therapy, and I realized the mental mindset has a lot to do with this journey that I'm on. So what I did was I actually got a lot of therapy, and I started a coaching program. And it wasn't to coach, it was really to help me with my personal development. But once I got into the program, I learned that self-development was key to my journey. It was really key. So just to speed this up, the self-development was helpful. Getting on a spiritual path from not only listening to my spiritual teachers, but also getting certifications in behavior change, as well as I went and got a master's in spiritual psychology. And what that did for me, it allowed me to have an experiential experience and dive really deep into self. What that spiritual psychology journey did for me, it allowed me to heal. Because when I say it was experiential, the person that showed up for class was me. And we could only talk in the I, make I statements. And we could only talk about our own lives, no one else's. So that allowed me to reflect, reconnect with things that I thought were gone from inside my body and my mind. So that lasted for 2 years, but all the time I was always going to lectures and workshops. So once I completed that journey, I said, okay, I am ready to share. I didn't feel like I needed any more education. I felt like I am ready to share, because for me, the learning has been when I am working with other people and reflecting in them. my reflection in them and they reflect on me, and I learn so much. But it's those inner tools and strategies that I learned that we need in order to move us forward. So as an instructor, the college instructor, I teach unhealthy habits, how to get healthy habits, negative self-talk. I teach the classes that nobody teaches us. I felt there was a big need for that. So I started that like 13 years ago at a local college because they allowed me to have my own courses. So I've just made those so that I could really, really reach out and help people. And Jumpstart Your Life came about, the book was when I taught it as a class. I walked people through how to jumpstart their lives, how to look at their current situation, how to determine the 2 areas that they wanted to improve in, and then take those 2 areas and set affirmations, really dig deep into what it is they would like to manifest with those 2 areas, and also write affirmations so that they can be reminded of what it is that they want. And how to celebrate the wins and how to write a plan. And everything had to be realistic. At least one thing had to be realistic. And at the end of the course, which ended up being the book, you have 2 realistic ideas for what you want to do moving forward. And you have at least 2 action steps. So that's what the book is all about. It was a course I taught for many years. And then I said, okay, so what am I going to do with this course? I said, I'm going to turn it into a book and use it as a guide to support people as they walk through clearing any barriers that they may have and walk through and create lives that they truly, truly want to live. That's what my work is really about. How do you live an authentic life? What does that mean? What does that look like? And how can I support you with that?
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that, Diane, because I love the journey of self-understanding, self-acceptance. And we have to I'm really coming to understand how we must be completely determined about it. The zero tolerance that we have to the life we do not want. It's one thing for us to know we do not want a particular type of life, but it's another thing for us to change it and know that it's not going to be a one-day journey. It's a lifetime journey, requiring the total dedication. And that is really what you have expressed in terms of having started, because I also started from reading. I also started before the internet, and it's really about trying to understand the different parts of modality, the different modalities that are there for us to use. No matter where we are in the world, there are modalities that can help us to shift from that place of dissatisfaction, from that place of low frequency, to a place of a higher frequency, a place of love, unconditional love. Because when we seek love from outside of us, we do not understand fully that it is conditional. And it is meant to be conditional. And coming to understand what the conditions are and accepting it is key, because the unconditional love that we seek lies within us. And it's really, it's really amazing to hear that story of how you turned that grief around to be in that place where you were now experiencing wholeness and also teaching others. I'd love to know a bit more about about wholeness and how you can how you support those who come to you to transform that negative self-talk to a place of wholeness.
Well, I think the first thing is to transform the negative talk, the things that are in the way of us getting to what we want, getting even to love. So the first thing is, to explore those negative thoughts, the big ones. We have stuff in our head all the time, but the big ones, the ones that are telling you that you don't matter, that you can never be what you want to be. What I share and what I teach this too is when you have a thought, you want to bring to practice. You want to bring the thought to reality. To bring it to reality, you write it down on a piece of paper. This is just a practice so that later on, when they come up, you'll know what to do. So it's putting that thought on a piece of paper and really being honest with yourself and saying to yourself, do I really not matter? You know, what's the proof that I have that I don't matter? Is this really true? And you write down all the ways that it's true or not true. 9 times out of 10, if you start writing it, you realize this is just something I'm coming up with because I can't come up with anything in terms of why I don't matter. And if I do say I don't matter because my parents got divorced, okay, I need to explore that. So it's really taking you down through levels to help you understand that this is just a thought in your head and it doesn't have to identify you, your situation, and you don't even have to believe it. It's a thought. So the next thing is if I say, okay, is it true? Okay. When that happens, when you have the thought that you don't matter, what is that like? What does that feel like? So that's one way to answer it. And the next step is kind of like a reframe. Who would you be if you didn't have that thought that you don't matter? And that's where the smiles come in. That's where the light bulb goes off. So you put it down one way. How do I react when that thought comes up? How do I react when I feel that I don't matter? And then the reframe is, who are you? Who would you be? And that is, to me, I've learned that is such a beautiful thing when you can reframe and just imagine who would you be. And I get more answers when I ask that. Well, I wouldn't have to worry about this, or I could go on and sing and do what I want to do. That I love when that happens, when the bell goes off with that who would you be question.
Mm.
Yep.
And then there is that understanding, isn't there, of just as we have the negative thoughts, we also have within us the positive thoughts, the more loving thoughts. And that's what my book is about, Daily Bytes. I wrote Daily Bytes in 2020 when the whole world was going through that pandemic. And this is really about talking about the lower perspectives within us, which is usually around fear, around survival, around competition. And there's also the higher perspectives within us, which are usually around unconditional love, around peace, forgiveness.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's not just one set of thoughts within us, we have both. And we can align. It's just about becoming much more familiar with these thoughts and aligning to what we feel will give us the best outcomes. Because there are times when we do need to get engaged with those anger thoughts.
That's
if
right.
we do want to address. The other day, I was just telling a friend the other day that I was in this taxi and the driver said to me, all African women do this. Can't even remember what he said, all African women do.
That's wonderful, isn't it? When you don't remember.
Well, it wasn't a positive thing that he was talking about. And I said to myself, okay, I could, there is a version of me that would really engage with him and really address, because there was the trigger within me. That And, it's important to acknowledge that. And then what do we wish to do? What is the outcome that we want to seek at this time? And we always have choice. This universe, I say, is a universe of choice and alignment. Right. And I chose not to align on that particular day. But there might have been another day when I would have decided just to address, because that is a very generic statement. And where did that come from? What does he mean by that? There are times when we do want to address it, but it's how we address it in a way that does not take away the worth of the other. This is where emotional intelligence comes in, where we are coming to understand how other people can learn, how other people want to be treated, because at the end of the day, we all want love. We
We
all
all
want
want
to,
love and to
isn't it?
know that we matter. Yes.
This is this.
And you're right. Everything doesn't have to be put to paper. But when you're learning how not to react to everything that comes into your head and recognizing that you don't have to do anything with that thought. Because guess what? It's going to pass.
Yes.
But it's learning that. I can
Yeah.
remember being a young woman and learning that for the first time.
Yes.
I
Yes.
heard one of my favorite teachers say, just because you have a thought, it doesn't mean that you have to respond to it. And that blew my mind. Because when I was younger, of course, I'm reacting to every thought that's in my head. It's all real. Okay. But to learn that I didn't have to react was very powerful. And it really changed my life. It really changed my life that I did have choice. There wasn't anyone in my head trying to control me. I had choice. And I think that's was a sense of freedom. And I explored that, researched it, talked about it for many years now, because I think that's really, really powerful. Because I don't want people having to learn or not learn, not getting things that could really help them live their lives. Mm-hmm. Because that wasn't something that somebody just walked up and told me, well, when you get older, you don't have to listen to your thoughts, That was a whole different level of consciousness I was starting to engage in and learn about. And I just wanted to be able to share with other people.
That's so powerful, because we do, that knowledge, I know for me, came over time. There is that practice we need to get involved in, where we do have the unconscious and subconscious negative thoughts, and we also have the conscious negative thoughts. And we find that when we bring those subconscious and unconscious negative thoughts to the conscious, somehow the charge dissipates.
Yes.
The grip on the physical ego that physical ego has on our essence dissipates. So it's about self-awareness, being aware of the negative thoughts as they come to the conscious part of us, and knowing that the recognition of it is more than enough. And then allowing ourselves to align to the positive thoughts. And then a time comes when we can stay neutral more and more. And that neutral space, I find, that space of freedom, that space of stillness, is really where we have that infinite wisdom, which is the divine self.
That's right.
That divine self lies in that space in the middle. But we kind of flow from left to right for a bit until we find ourselves being able to stay neutral, stay peaceful, stay calm, more and more, regardless of what is going on around us. And this is the practice. This is the freedom that we can have at the end of this journey. Not at the end, but when we have done quite a significant amount of transformation, we can allow ourselves that freedom to just be, to just stay in that space. So I would love to talk more about wholeness. Okay. Because what in your definition is wholeness? How would you define wholeness?
In my definition of wholeness, it's when the body, mind, and spirit is aligned. Because when I first started out, maybe I thought I was just working on my mind. And at a certain point, I worked, okay, I'm having this awareness about my spirituality and my inner self, and it's allowing me to feel lighter, feel a little more truth about myself. Okay, so that's a connection. But I also recognize that the body is in there too, because for a long time, I did not talk about the body. And what I recognized was it matters. What we put into our body matters. Because at the time, as I've gone on this journey, I wasn't always plant-based at all. But as I navigated and I'm doing all this work, I'm physically getting ill from the way I'm eating. And at a certain point, you can't just ignore that. So I didn't feel whole at all, because the big elephant in the room was my diet. So it started out, I was, the wonderful thing I say is my journey to eating whole foods came when I was younger, because I got sick younger. I was eating the standard American diet. I'm a consultant. I'm eating at the best restaurants. I'm traveling everywhere, but I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker from my digestive system to putting on weight. So I wasn't feeling I always had a reminder, that something was missing from what I was communicating to all my wellness clients and when I taught and when I spoke. So addressing the elephant in the room, and over time, I started changing that, because that's something else that you don't arrive at right away. It's that to me, that's a true journey of awareness and consciousness, and being intentional about your life, is watching everybody else eat the standard American diet. And then at some point you say, I can't do this anymore. And here's why. Because that's the first thing that I establish, and that you establish. Why do I need to change the way I'm eating? Because that is what keeps you grounded, and why you need to change, because that is one of the hardest things for people to do in general, is to change the way you eat, to change the way you think about food. It is a true journey. And I started off slow, started off really simple by getting rid of Coke in my diet, getting rid of beef, the normal things that people do. It was really slow. But once I started working on my mind and my spirit, I got a diagnosis of Crohn's. I had a scope test, the gastroenterologist, and he said, "Oh, I think you have Crohn's." That news really put my head in a tizzy, because that was huge. The beautiful thing was I didn't have Crohn's. He sent the, test to pathology, and I didn't have Crohn's. But I tell you what, it was enough to wake me all the way up. And here's the thing, just like with my mind and my spirit, I started feeling better and better and better. I started feeling lighter. I wasn't chronically ill anymore. And just like my mind and my spirit, I wanted to learn more. So at some point, working with people, whether I was working with people or teaching, what I learned was I'm feeling whole. I'm feeling whole with my mind, my body, and my spirit. So what I've learned is, whoever tells us, I don't know if it's the American Medical Association, that everything is separate, it's just not true. And I feel my work is helping to bring people back to, it's all connected. The body, the mind, and the spirit. And I can attest to that, because as I've learned, because it's been a learning process, I feel wholeness. I feel whole all the way through because everything is aligned. And yes, there's always work to do. We're ever evolving, but I feel that I'm open enough. I've been on this path long enough to know that, okay, I'm still open to change, open to being better, doing better, open to learning and unlearning, because that's the most of the work we do is unlearn all the bad habits that we have around our food, our consciousness, our mindset, and really feeling that I'm in a good place. So how do I know I'm in a good place? Because I'm happy, I'm peaceful, I'm free.
I love that. That's beautiful. What a wonderful definition of wholeness. I really love the way you incorporate that body consciousness healing, because that's what our relationship with food gives to us. We heal. When we change that relationship with food, whether it's, taking out the sugar or the salt or the meat, or only eating white meat or whatever, because everybody is different.
Everybody.
For those who do want to embrace that plant-based diet, what are the first 2-3 things that you would support or you would advise, or how you support your clients who do want to embrace that plant-based diet? If you could share some of that, because this is really inspirational.
Well, the first thing is acknowledging that that's exactly what you want to do, or that you're curious, which is why I started my podcast, Plant-Based Curious, because you come as you are. You don't have to be vegan, vegetarian, or fit in any type of box or label. And it's about being curious and wanting to change. And it's really acknowledging, why do you want to change? Because without that why, it's not really grounding you into really making a change. Because first of all, it takes courage to change. It takes a lot of courage to change from eating the standard American diet to eating foods that probably people around you aren't eating. So that's why I said it takes courage to commit and align yourself and become intentional about what you're putting in your mind and body. So the first thing is exploring and getting information and understanding, why do you want to change? Because making that transition is so huge. And if you don't have a why, then it's easy to switch back, because there's nothing grounding you into making that commitment. Because we do things all the time. We say, I'm gonna become plant-based, but if you don't have a why, for me, it was wanting to be healthy. Because I have two children at the time they were young, and I wanted to be strong, and I wanted to be healthy, so that I could be a good mom, be a good business owner, be a good engineer, whatever I was doing in the past, because I knew that as happy and successful as I was at the time, that was not going to sustain me, if my body's breaking down. So I really got that message. And I work from there. So anybody that's listening, first thing is having your why. The second thing is taking small steps. Maybe you try more vegetables on your plate than you have. Let's say you're eating mashed potatoes, a vegetable, and some chicken. Maybe you put a lot more vegetables on your plate that first day, but you still have your mashed potatoes and your chicken. The idea is that if you eat all those vegetables, you're gonna maybe not eat as much of the chicken and the mashed potatoes. And it's really educating yourself by reading, listening to podcasts, and you gotta do what resonates with you, because everybody's out there telling us what we need to do. So it's finding those answers. It's finding those resources about, how do I know that this is good for me? So it's that soul searching that's involved in that too. And I also tell people, try a meatless Monday. Try one day where you eat no meat. You ease yourself into it one step at a time. And the biggest thing I tell people is do not put any pressure on yourself to be one thing or the other. It's about intention. It's about practice. And what you do and what you become is very intentional about your life, because you become very intentional about the food that you're putting in your mouth. Because society has taught us to make things very fast. Fast food, fast life, busy life. But being intentional is slowing down enough to really be mindful about what it is you're eating, to turn that package over when you're in the store and look at those ingredients. You have a phone. If you don't know what something means, you can look it up now. And there's a Yuka app, YUKA, that I've been using for the past 2 years that definitely tells me if I buy something in a package, is it healthy or not? And if it's not, it gives you recommendations, and it's not funded by any companies. It's an app out of the Spain, a little company in Spain who just wants to make the world and food a better place. And they're just funded on donations and small. I'm not even selling for them. I'm just saying this thing has really helped me to understand the additives that are in my food, and help me to explain and break down all the ingredients, and lets me know if this food is healthy or not. Because what happens over time, and I know it's so hard for people to understand, is when you eat healthy, when you truly eat foods with no mother that's grown in the ground and no face, you really become lighter and healthier. That's what I can say. That's been my experience. And I share my experience and my resources with people who are interested in becoming more plant-based or plant-based. There's no pressure, and we keep it light. And I could say that after 21 years, I feel that I'm healthier now than I was when I was younger. Yeah, I don't have any of the chronic problems that I was experiencing when I was a young woman. So that's my commitment. Yeah.
And you are a testament. You are a walking radiant light, blooming, a walking, blooming, radiant light. That you are a testament to the value, to the good outcomes that come out of healthy eating. So what's your average day like? Because I know how challenging it can be, because food can be an addiction, and we sometimes think, oh, it's something I can get over with, in a day or two. Because I was a size 22 at some point, and I had to become, so being really mindful of what we eat and being really determination. And I know what you meant by, having a why. It has to be very personal, authentic why.
Yes.
Something, and even if that why changes, we have to know the reasons, because we are the only ones who can really be mindful enough. Nobody can do this for us. It has to come from within us. So I'd love to know what your average day is like.
My average
diet. Yeah.
My average day, and here's the interesting thing. Once you start that journey, you eat less, because the foods you eat have more fiber, they're more whole. So I literally have 2 meals a day. Oatmeal in the morning with raisins and walnuts, and then I have mainly a veggie bowl with my favorite veggies, but sometimes I may have vegan lasagna. Sometimes I have spaghetti. I mean, I eat really good food sometimes that looks like standard American food, because things have changed. But because I want to keep my intention of health, I eat mainly whole foods most of the time. But I'm not restricted because people think, okay, you're restricted, but you're really not. It is learning what's in your food, where your food comes from, and how whole is your food. And when I say whole, I'm talking about leafy greens, different vegetables like butternut squash. That's what I had today. Butternut squash. I had some shredded Brussels sprouts. I had a half of avocado, and what else did I have in there? Oh, and some kale that I cooked, and some lentils. And man, I'm still full. That fills me up. But I've evolved to this point, so I'm not telling people they go to this, but this is how I've evolved over 21 years, to the point where I'm not comparing it to other tastes. So if, for example, when I first started, I loved hamburgers at one time. Okay. So what I did was I substituted my hamburger for a black bean burger. So when I ate a burger, I just picked the black bean burger. And it was all practice, because in the beginning, I needed a substitute, okay? Because I needed my taste buds to evolve. And I didn't put pressure on myself, you know. So that's how I did it in the beginning. And I always had healthy snacks with me, because I didn't trust myself not to go to the vending machine. It was bad. So it is learning what's going to work for you and how you need to do it. The key is learning what is best for you, and know that it's a soul journey. It's a soul journey, and it's your journey. I know we like to say I'm plant-based, so I want the whole family to be plant-based. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I've just talked to people for too many years that ask me that question. But what can happen is that you are intentional about your food. People see that. People see that, and you are a role model for your family. That's what you are. It's not about getting my husband or my wife to eat a different way. You are the role model. And I think that's more effective than hitting people over the head about what they should and should not do. Oh. And you'd be surprised how people see that. And next thing you know, because I've had 21 years with my family, they're like, okay, I want to try that. I'm going to eat that. You know, I'm going to try that black bean burger. You know, and they see me eating, they see me changing, they see me feeling good and light and navigating my life. And they're like, okay, I want to try some of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today. This is so wonderful, Diane. Thank you so much. Do you have any final words before we go today?
The final words I have for your audience is know that it's one step at a time. It's small steps that equal big things. So it's about just being open and authentic about the changes that you want to make, and also being open and authentic about what's not serving you any longer, so you can remove those things and bring the things in that can support you in having a wonderful life.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Very inspirational. And I do want to thank our audience, and actually to encourage you guys who do want to try the plant-based diet to connect with Diane Randall. All our links will be shared with the video, so that you can really come to experience this wholeness of being that is something that is achievable with a mindful attitude within self. So thank you again, Diane. And I do want to thank you, ask my audience to also not forget to grab your copy of Daily Soul Bytes. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bytes show. Bye-bye.